Is it time to toss that wig in the trash? Not so quick. In this video, I'm going to show you how to take an old matted wig or weave and bring it back to life. I'm also going to show you how to restore an old balding frontal. I'm revealing my tips and tricks for prolonging the life of my units. So if any of this piques your interest, keep watching. Okay, so some of you may know that I recently moved and I found a bag of old wigs and U-part units. And I haven't worn these wigs in at least 5 years. And as you can see, it really is matted and has so much product buildup. And I also found this frontal wig that looks like a rat ate the front of this unit. Most of my frontals tend to bald in the front, and usually when it gets to this point, most people are ready to trash their units, but not me. The first thing I like to do is give my units an apple cider bath. People in the natural community are familiar with the many benefits of apple cider vinegar. It's great for clarifying your hair and restoring it back to its natural pH balance. It's also good for adding luster and shine to your hair. Before soaking it in the water, you want to be sure to detangle the wig as much as possible. Then you want to submerge the hair in the water and let it sit and soak for about 3 to 5 minutes. After letting it soak for 3 to 5 minutes, it's time to remove and move on to the next step. Now it's time to wash the hair. I like to use my Aussie Moist shampoo, and I feel like it works really well with my units. And since this wig is pretty old and it has 6 years of product buildup just sitting in it, I want to make sure that I scrub it really good and rinse it so that my unit is free of any product. Next, I'm going to take some of that shampoo and I'm going to take one of my baby hair brush and scrub towards the front to remove any built-up adhesive that's been left on the lace. Since I will be removing a lot of this lace later, I'm not going to spend too much time on this section. Most of you are probably familiar with silicone mix, and if you aren't, then you need to get familiar. This is like a miracle in a jar. Now there's 2 ways you can apply the silicone mist to your hair. The typical way, which is just apply it like you would any normal conditioner, and then you want to detangle the hair with the silicone mix on it. At this point, your hair will detangle. I have yet to find any wig that this silicone mix have not been able to detangle. If for some reason you cannot detangle your hair with this mix, it's probably not human hair. Then you want to place the unit in a plastic bag for about 10 minutes to allow it to deep condition. And now you should start to see the difference in the unit. The second way of applying this mix that I like to do when I have multiple wigs to detangle is I fill a bowl up with boiling hot water. Then I add cold water to the mix until it's hot to touch but doesn't burn my hand. Then I take the units and I dip it into the water to ensure that the solution is getting through the units. Next, you're going to let it sit in that water for about 10 minutes. And this method allows you to deep condition your unit while using less product. After you have allowed the product to saturate the hair, you can now remove it from the mixture and rinse with cold water. It's always best to rinse your hair with cold water as that helps to seal up the cuticles. And now you can see this hair has completely transformed. Next, I'm going to put this unit on my mannequin head to allow it to air dry. And this is what it looks like once it's dry. See the comparison? It's like night and day. Curls are popping. Now let's move on to that balding frontal. I'm going to blow dry this hair using my blow dryer. There are a couple of tracks that are hanging out from this unit that I will fix later. Okay, so I'm gonna try the wig on and assess what part of the lace is going to need to be cut. And as we can see, the whole front is eaten out. I'm gonna try to preserve as much of the lace as possible. And I'm going to cut off this excess lace and try to follow my hairline. Now I'm proceeding with cutting the lace, and when I cut the lace, I like to use a zigzag motion just so it doesn't look like a straight cut across your forehead. We're not going to compromise the hairline for that bald spot. I'm going to show you how to cover that later in the video. Now, don't stress out on making sure that the cut is perfect. It's going to be very hard to get it perfect, seeing as the frontal balds in different sections. The purpose is just to get it to mimic as close to your hairline as possible, and then later on we're going to finesse it. Now, because you cut off the lace, you've cut off the pluck part, which means that the part of the frontal that's left is the dense part. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on showing you guys how to pluck a frontal. You guys should know how to do that by now. But you want to be sure to pull out some hair for the baby hair and then pluck the back. And you don't want to over pluck, guys. You've already know that this frontal was just balding. You just want to pluck so that it has a slightly gradient effect. I've gone ahead and sewed on a new elastic band onto this unit. And now I'm going to try this wig on just to see how it aligns with my face and begin the install. I'll lay this down with some of my Got To Be glue gel. Now you guys have seen me do an install a million times. I'm just applying a thin layer of this Got To Be glue gel to my forehead. And then I'm going on top of that with the Got To Be glue hairspray to achieve a stronger hold. Then I'm going to take the lace and apply it right on top of that spray and gel, and I'm going to lay it down right on my forehead. And now at this point is where you can make any adjustments to the hairline if you feel like it's not aligning properly. For me, I felt like the sideburns was coming out just a little too close to my eyebrows. So I went ahead and took my scissors and cut some of that off. And I'm just pressing it down with the tip of the comb. And I like to take the blow dryer and comb it back as it's drying to prevent any of the hair from sticking to the lace. And then you're going to repeat those same steps on the other side. Next, we have the issue of that balding spot in the front. And you guys know I'm not really big on baby hair, but for this particular install, we're gonna need to cut some baby hairs. How much baby hair you cut at this point is really up to your personal preference, because we need to bring some of the hair down over that lace to cover that bald spot. Now, I cut my hair as short as possible because I just really wasn't going for that baby hair look. But as I mentioned, feel free to cut your hair to your liking. Now, one of the things you're going to run into when you're dealing with a bald and frontal is that there are going to be bald spots within the frontal as well. So the key is to just find new parting space on that frontal. Most likely you're not going to be able to part the frontal in the same area you had it parted before. So you just want to keep making parts until you find as clean as a parting area as possible. And for me, this was the best that I could find. A lot of the hair also bald at the sideburns of this frontal. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some of that hair from up top and I'm bringing it down just to cover over the lace. And then I'm gonna go on top of that with some of my lotta body mousse to create sideburns to camouflage those balding areas. And at this time, you just want to just lay the unit over any open balding areas you may find, because the key is to finesse. This is what we doing, y'all. We finessing this, okay? Now I'm going to use my straightening comb just to get the hair to obey and lay down in the direction I want it to lay. I did use some of my wax sticks to help this lay a lot smoother. If you don't have a flat iron, you can also use the heat from a barrel of a curling iron to get your hair to lay down. Now it's time for us to fix that area in the part that looks a little bald. Now you have two options on how you can do this. One, you could take the black hairspray and use the tip of your comb and spray the hairspray over the hair. This is going to give you a perfectly straight part. You guys have seen me do this in other videos. I'm honestly not too much of a fan of a perfectly straight part. So I'm going to do the second option, which is use some of my Adore semi-permanent hair color. And then with a light hand, you're going to take a spoolie and run it along the roots of the hair. This is going to darken the hair that are present in that area and make the balding area a lot less noticeable. Now, this may not be perfect, but I honestly like imperfections in my wigs. To me, I feel like it gives a more natural look because most people's hair is not perfect. Then I'm going to go over it with my blow dryer just to dry that coloring that I'm adding to the hair. And the final step is to tie this down with my scarf for about 5 minutes just to let all of that set in. And voila, this is the final look, guys. What do you think? I think it turned out really good, especially considering what we started out with. You'd never know the frontal looked as bad as it did. All it takes is a little time and patience. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you're not part of the faithful fam, make sure you hit that subscribe button and your notification bell so you know when I launch my videos. And as always important, you guys stay blessed. And if it be God's will, I will see you in my next video.